Today's speaker will be Fred Kersten from Boston University, and he's going to talk to us today about student e-collaborations. Please join me in welcoming Fred Kersten.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. And it's so fantastic to be able to follow radio because it is so neat, and also to see, thanks to Dr. Judy Bowman, who is also here and who did a presentation earlier on online learning, because it is becoming the big thing now, okay? Vital current focus is really cool to be able to see how many sessions that we are starting to devote to it at an organization like College Music Society. And so what I want to tell you a little about what I'm doing, my task at BU, I'm totally online. Okay, we have 3 courses with the technology side that I work on. And so what my direction now is to revitalize our entire program, okay? Because we are taking our courses, build with all the new things that are starting to come in. And the new word for everybody is collab, okay? Collaboration, okay? As you probably have heard today, if you're walking around, everybody is collabing, okay? So you are now on the in-crew of the collab biz, okay? Everything as I've been looking at over the years as I've been rebuilding this program, is the buzzword is collaboration. So we are totally online, but I think it's really neat because you can build some of the collab into you brick and mortar guys also, okay? So as I started to work with my courses, I've started to put in collab assignments. And I found that it provides a lot of things. There's communication, there's motivation, and there's an awful lot of interest in starting to develop with the students. So what I'm going to try to cover for you today, I'm going to consider the rationale for collab. And you also have had fantastic direction from radio, and also Judy has also got a book on working with online interaction, which I think is very, very unique. So I'm giving you a little on collab, and I'm going to try to show you some features of software. I'm going to try to show you the various online tools that are there, becoming very extensive, and showing you some of the software that you probably had know about that is now starting to build in all these various types of features. And also, I'm going to give you a couple scenarios for collab environment. You're going to get a chance to hear some of my students, if you will, so you don't have to hear me mouth off for the next 23 minutes, okay? So you'll get examples of what we are doing at BU. And I'm going to give you some suggestions also for collabing out into other types of music areas as you go. So as I build in the collab, I found that it produces a lot of enthusiasm for my kids. And one of the things that's starting for the overt evidence, my students' assignments are becoming more comprehensive. Now, you got to understand, our courses have to be in at 11:59 on Sunday night. Okay? Now, radio talked about some of the things that happened with the sequence when you start to go async. Okay? Obviously, some of my students start about 10 o'clock. Okay? Now, you didn't hear anybody from BU in here? Good. Okay, I'm safe. I won't get I'll make sure I have tenure on it. But anyway, they do start about 10 o'clock. They follow the sequence and it goes in. So you know what you get, right? Okay, but as I've worked with a collab, I've found that my projects have become longer. And I've also found that our discussion boards are becoming more detailed and more extensive. And I think the big reason is this. I think the students are participating in a real type of music creation, but they're working with their peers. So that my little sequence of things that they got to hand in is different. They got to satisfy their colleagues and their pals. And I think this is a very important aspect to look at, and something that I found is starting to happen with the collab. So as you get involved, you're all going to hear the words synchronous and asynchronous. Synchronous very quickly means going back and forth immediately or almost immediately. And asynchronously, one direction, the person does the assignment, then returns it that direction. So my question as I got involved with this presentation is, how sync is sync? How much sync do you actually need? And I think collab has been explored by radio a little bit. It's sort of a philosophy, and I can build in limited tech tools. I can work with just a simple sharing of files with an email, or I can go a complex interface, which is starting to happen with Pro Tools, which I thought was really very unique, and I'll show you that in a second. Any of the tech I'm going to talk about is not totally safe. Okay, you can work asynchronous programs. They can work effectively. I'll show you one. You can accommodate latency as you go back and forth. So I wanted to show you how many people work Pro Tools. Okay, how many have worked with the collab feature so far? Okay, the new Pro Tools Ultimate that has been developed has got in the various, you look up at the top, you're going to find in your toolbar all different types of opportunities to collab back and forth. You can go globally, you can go track-wise. You can download changes, you can work with another person, they can sync in with you, and then they can be able to upload and download your types of things that you are putting up online. And rather than me talk about it anymore, I'd like to have two of the top Pro Tools experts show you exactly what you can do.
Collaboration tools we want to look at are kind of the overall master tools that would reside up in the toolbar of the edit page. So if we click on the little down triangle over here, we have the new option to show collaboration tools. Now by default, they come over on the far right hand of the edit page. Now, a lot of people know this, but if you don't, really cool little trick with all these little modules and tools in the toolbar of the edit page. You hold down the command key or control on Windows, you'll see a little grabber hand come up. Basically, any one of these little modules now you can grab and you can move it anywhere you want to. And Tom and I have been working with this software for quite a while, and we kind of decided that we like it kind of down here on the far left-hand side, because it basically is a nice little column with the next set of tools we're going to look at, which are basically the track-based collaboration tools. So if you click on the little edit window view selector icon here, once again, you've got a new menu item, track collaboration, and it'll bring those collaboration tools. And now you can see all those tools, nice little tight column there. And so everything that you're doing with track collab, you can kind of see in one glance without having to look across the screen. The three main buttons up at the top that you're going to deal with on the global level are upload changes, download changes on a global level, or download all new shared tracks. So you go through, make changes on multiple tracks, that upload arrow is going to light up. If somebody else has made a bunch of changes on already shared tracks, then the download arrow is going to light up and basically download all those changes at one time. And then if somebody shared a new track or new tracks with you, then the download all shared tracks arrow button lights up and you can then download those. If you prefer, there's actually auto buttons for each one of those. So basically, instead of you having to manually manage that, all that can be done automatically for you in the background. Now there's three other icon buttons as well. The top one up here basically allows you to add a collaborator to the project right here from the edit window. The second one will open up the artist chat window, which we've already shown you when we set up our profile earlier, which we'll talk about more in a minute. And then there's a notification icon there that if any chat comes in that's related to this project, that's going to light up and tell you that you've got some kind of notification that you can go to your artist chat window and see what's going on about the project.
So I thought that was really extensive to see that in Pro Tools. Okay, that was good because I work with Pro Tools and all the various things when I work with the courses, when I go with the music technology course specifically. And so I thought this was quite interesting to look at. How many people have worked with NoteFlight Learn? Okay, you all work with NoteFlight, right? Okay, if you look at NoteFlight Learn, this is something new that is starting to come out. NoteFlight Learn has a lot of different collaboration advances built in. And what you can do as a teacher, you can work them back and forth, you can interact with your students. There are various activity templates that you can work with. So they can see exactly your assignment directions to them, and then they can work back and forth. There's also a live audio recording segment now in NoteFlight Learn, which is fantastic because you can do performance assessment online. And you can work with other LMSs, learning management systems. And I'll show you exactly how that can be done in a second. The teacher can see the notation and they can listen into the students' work. There's all types of performance assessments and the students can send that information back. So if you wanted to go into a collaborative composition lesson with this, the kids can work in pairs or they can work in small groups. And what you can do is go into their composition library. And if you notice, they have it set up so you can include your assignments, or also you can work off various templates are there. So let's say you wanted to work off compositions of Bach or Mozart or your own compositions, you can build in from there. And then there's basic composition opportunities for them to be able to template off if they want. Soundtrap, everybody's worked with Soundtrap? Yes, I'm sure. Yes. Okay. Soundtrap is the new online recording studio, DAW. A lot of people like it better than GarageBand. It's easier to work with. You can work with World Collab if you want, because obviously you don't have to be limited to the iOS or the various operating systems of a Mac, and you can work with all types of devices. So anyway, this is available to you, and you can do a lot of things with Collab if you want to be able to work with the opportunity with Soundtrap. If I can get to my slide, which is not opening up. So this is my page. As you can see, I can work with my own studio if you wish, and then what I can do with the studio, if I can build off it, I can then be able to work out with my students, and then I can be able to collab out to them to be able to work with various social media. I can also go generic. I can work with various vocals, or I can work with a hot icon. So what I can do is click on that person's hot icon. I can hear the type of style they work with. Okay, so this is something you can do very nicely with Soundtrap. So what I tried to do with my students as a scenario, I required them to work with Soundtrap. They had a 2-minute composition that they had to create. They had to collab with 2 or 3 different students, and they had to build something together using the features that were in Soundtrap. So one of my gentlemen worked with banjo and hip-hop beats. Okay, interesting combination. He collaborated with another young lady who recorded it in a band, Zuri Flute Obligato, and then another student worked with various synth flutes, which they added at the end. Then they worked with another student who added in the bass and drum loops. There's all types of things in the library if you want to go that route. And then what they did was they took a voice line from a Loopmasters free sample pack. If you look in your handout, I've given you the address for that. Okay, there's a lot of neat stuff up there if you want to go back and forth on. So then they did a lot of dialogue on it, and then they recorded in a banjo part, and they got what they called the banjo hip-hop subconscious, and it sounds like this.
Get to me in a dream, like a subconscious impulse. I can see it right in front of me. Like a subconscious impulse.
So you can see it, you can see all the various things that you can do if you want to build back and forth between 2 and 3 people who work online with it. I mentioned being able to go back and forth with Soundtrap and also enter Notes Flight. And John Linzak, who's president of TIME, and he's also manager and director of Note Flight, have given you a super page if you want to go back and forth and do some collab back and forth with it. So many neat things that are starting to happen that they are starting to build into these tools. For example, you can take your Soundtrap song, see it as Note Flight notation. So if somebody wants to be able to play your piece, they can do it. They can remix the audio of your note flight from the various score with various sound trap instruments. You can also export out various drum parts, MIDI drum parts, and pull them back into note flight. You can add sound trap loops to the playback and so forth and so forth. So there's a lot of things being done in cloud tools now, especially with us in public schools, because we are now going one-to-one. We are now doing a lot of things with Chromebooks, so there's a lot of use with the cloud as you start to build the direction with it. I wanted to, does anybody work Powtoon? Has anybody worked Powtoon in here? Okay, I use Powtoon with my students. It's a totally asynchronous method to be able to work with. They have a collab icon you can build off. Unfortunately, with Powtoon, you can only go asynchronous one direction and then return the other. And what you can do with Powtoon is you can build out various PowerPoint files, and then you can send them out as videos. So if you look at it, you'll notice the Powtoon is set up. If you've worked with PowerPoint, you work with your slides right on the left side. It's pretty strong because what you can do then is you can build in a voiceover track. You can pull in all types of videos and things of that nature. And then you can build a project out. So what I did with my students have to work with iPads because they are working with them in the school. So what I required them to do was to take a music app and describe it using the Powtoon. And one of my girls works with her students. She teaches at a private school, and she and her students collabed back and forth. And what they did was they used a commercial as a vehicle. And so one of the students wrote out the script, and then other people did the various media, and they brought in the audio and all these various things. They worked with iReal Pro. Anybody worked iReal Pro in here? Okay, they described iReal Pro, and they had to share this information with the students, and they got something like this.
This is Nikki. She plays guitar in her school's jazz band, but doesn't like practicing all by herself at home. Isn't it frustrating when you want to play with a group, but you can't? Wouldn't it be great to have the entire jazz band at home with you anytime you wanted to practice? Your parents wouldn't like that, though, because they'd have to clear out the whole living room, buy a bunch of pizzas to feed them all, and warn the neighbors. But there is an easier solution. iReal Pro. With iReal Pro, Nikki can play along with a real jazz band that takes up no floor space and doesn't eat anything. Nikki can either import charts from iReal Pro's forms or compose her own. Simply tap the pencil icon to begin creating your own score. Use the pop-up keyboard to enter your chord symbols, beat marks, and other symbols needed. Don't want a jazz bossa nova groove? Tap it to select from the dozens of other groovy grooves available. Hate playing with lots of flats? Tap the treble clef and D flat in the bottom right corner and choose your key. Want to take some solos? Tap the 3X at the bottom of the screen and select the number of repetitions you want. Once your score is just the way you like it, grab your instrument, tap the play button, and start jamming. Tap tutorials to learn how to share your work with others in iReal Pro's forums. To get iReal Pro for your iPad, go to the App Store. It's only $12.99, much less than the cost of one pizza.
So in my evaluation back to how I said, forget music, okay? You guys don't have to worry about music anymore. Go into advertising, okay? Because this is something they did back and forth that I thought was really cool. Anybody work Soundation? Okay, Soundation is up online. It's totally in the cloud. You can record directly in it. I like it better than Soundtrap, okay? You didn't hear me say that, but I really do. I've been using it for 10 years. You can do all types of automation with volume, panning, reverb. I like it just as much as sometimes working off Logic, but it has a good interface. My point being is Soundation will interface and collab on Google Hangout, okay? Be aware of Google, guys. One of the things I'm doing now is I'm looking for certification as a Google person, okay, when I'm doing all this work online, because there's so many things that can happen with Google. Now, what they're going to do is they're going more sync, they're going faster, and I think they're going to have a more comprehensive direction. But if you've worked Soundation, you know what it can do, and you can work up online with it. Flipgrid. Anybody work Flipgrid? Yay. Okay, Flipgrid is developed at the University of Minnesota. It's a private asynchronous communication source that you can work back and forth. It's being used quite extensively in the public schools. Radio, are you using those with your students at all? Or? Okay, cool. You can work on text and video for interaction back and forth. They've just done some revitalizing on it. They are now using QR codes for communications opportunity. A grid is nothing more than a communication line that you set between your students and another students, and you can work in video. And if you develop something, it looks pretty much like this.
My class here. And then here is a question that I posed to my students. So we'll take a look at this. And here is a link to that specific question. So I'm going to click on that so you can see what my students saw. Here is the question. Watch the following video and comment. So this is a YouTube video that I shared that had just come out from Khan Academy about learning. So this is an intro discussion board type of question. And I wanted students to respond either here within Flipgrid, or I wanted them to respond in the discussion board. And so some of them chose to do that. You can see what the question was here as well. So let me hop back to this real quick. And this is an example of what a student response would look like.
I believe that I'm a hands-on learner and a visual learner. I like to.
So you can see what you can do in back and forth. 5 minutes left. Thank you very much. One thing that you should look at is Flat. Anybody work Flat in here? Okay, Flat is an online opportunity for notation. I like it very much now. The Fairfield School District in Illinois are using it, and what they've done is they've set up a composition opportunity for the students. They start in their their second year of secondary school, and then they communicate down to the middle school. And what they can do is they can synchronously communicate back and forth with composition opportunities. So if you'll notice, it's set up so that you can then put your assignments up on the left side. The thing I like about Flat is this. I teach the Introduction to Sibelius course with BU, and I found that the biggest problem is putting notation into Sibelius or Finale is learning the interface. Okay, if you've worked with this, you know what I'm saying. The nice thing about Flat is you can just pull these things down very easily in. So, and it's an online tool, and it will work synchronously. What they do is they flip a MIDI file in the cloud. 2 or 3 people can work with it at the same time, and you can get something like this.
This is Flat, a powerful music score editor inside your browser. Embrace music creation and bring it to the future. You can drop notes with a click and go further in your melody. Even if you lose your network connection, you can keep on working with the offline feature. It will synchronize your scores when you go online again. You can invite your friends to work with your new music sheet and enjoy the real-time improvements that foster the efficiency of your band work. If that's not enough for you, you can start a hangout chat with the collaborators and have fun with them. When your composition is done, share it with the community. I gathered more than 300,000 musicians on Louisville.
So this is out there. If you haven't worked with it, take a look at it. It's sort of interesting. So, 3 minutes left. Some things to do. Look at interaction for lectures, okay, that you can put up online. There are so many things. In the foundation courses that we work with at BU, we've been doing a lot of things with webinars. And it's phenomenal to be able to synchronize and talk back and forth. A lot of the new things that are coming out technology-wise have great opportunities to be able to work with chat rooms and so forth. How many people work Zoom? Okay, if you work Zoom, this is the newer one. BU is using it. College Music Society just had a webinar they used. It's much simpler to work with, and it allows for less problems with people who are going back and forth and having their own computers get involved with their connections and so forth. You can also work with G Suite. Anybody work G Suite? G Suite has got a lot of opportunities for communicating back and forth. You can work various types of chat rooms and so forth. And also they are now working what is called Hangouts Meet. This is a brand new one that is available, again allowing videos to be able to communicate back and forth. Google is working a lot with big businesses. Okay, this is where they're going because they have opportunities then to run major conferences instead of all their people having to go to Japan or some other place, you know, and run up their expense account. They're doing a lot of things online with that. So be aware that those things are available to you. So I've given you a QR code that's on the screen. There's QR code is also on your front of your handout if you've got one. If you didn't get one, you can get it off my webpage. It's up online for you. There's a webpage associated with this presentation. And if you have any questions, please get back to me, email. I'll be most happy to get back to you. So, Floyd, thank you very much for allowing me to present. Thank you for coming to my presentation.